So Republicans took over Congress, the House of Representatives inside of Congress. They now have a majority. It's official. And I'll tell you what, they're using it. A couple things happened. Number one, Nancy Pelosi has announced that she is no longer going to be the leader in the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives. She is going home to her gay husband, and they're just gonna hang out. They're gonna chill.
Together here, we stand on sacred ground.
I don't even know if I want to watch this whole thing. This is gonna be so boring, dude. Oh my lord.
The chamber of the United States House of Representatives, the heart of American democracy.
Yeah.
I will never forget the first time I saw the Capitol. It was on a cold January day when I was 6 years old. My father, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr.
In 1919, you know what I mean? She's like, oh, when I was 6 years old in a cold, wait, actually, what year was it? In the cold winter of 1874, I laid eyes on Congress on the congressional halls for the first time. I was a mere 6-year-old, not a vampire yet. 1946, that's crazy.
Jr. was about to be sworn in for his 5th term in Congress, representing our beloved hometown of Baltimore. I was riding the car with my brothers, and they were thrilled and jumping up and down and saying to me, Nancy, look, there's the Capitol. And every time I'd say, I don't see any Capitol. Is it a capital A, a capital B, or a capital C?
Damn, dude.
And
damn, that's the tight 5, you know what I'm saying? She's busting out her big guns.
Finally, I saw it. A stunning white building with a magnificent dome. I believed then, as I believe today, this is the most beautiful building in the world because of what it represents. The Capitol is a temple of our democracy, of our Constitution, of our highest ideals. On that day,
damn, applause break.
On that day, I stood with my father on this floor as he took a sacred oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. All of us who have served in this House have taken the hallowed oath.
Oh, by the way, she's slated to be replaced by Hakeem Jeffries, who, oh my lord. I mean, oh my lord. All right, that's a whole different subject.
Oath of office. And it is the oath that stitches us together in a long and storied heritage. Colleagues who served before us are all our colleagues. Colleagues like Abraham Lincoln, Daniel Webster, Shirley Chisholm, Patsy Mink, and our beloved John Lewis. Personally, it binds me as a colleague to my father, a proud New Deal congressman and one of the earliest Italian Americans to serve in the Congress.
Bro, her dentures are blasted, dude. Jeez, Lord mercy. I hadn't heard Nancy talk this long for a while. Holy she's spitting. Like, literally. I don't mean like she's spitting good shit.
And it links us with the highest aspirations of the ages. In this room, our colleagues across history have abolished slavery, granted women the right to vote.
Nancy was like, I was there. She's like, I was against it, but like I was there. You know what I mean?
Established Social Security and Medicare, offered a hand to the weak, care to the sick, education to the young, and hope to the many. Indeed, it is here, under the gaze of our patriarch, George Washington, in the People's House, that we have done the people's work. My colleagues, I stand before you as Speaker of the House, as a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a devout Catholic, a proud Democrat,
a great-grandmother,
and a patriotic American, a citizen of the greatest republic in the history,
an Italian woman of color. I stand before you.
of the world.
You don't even have to make shit up. Her dad was a New Deal Democrat. Yeah, I mean, and she has spent her career running to the right of her dad on at least some of the issues. So yeah, that's true. She's like, literally, my entire political career revolves around being the best fucking fundraiser coming out of California and rising to prominence within the Democratic Party for my skills as I excelled in fundraising. This is true. And suffering succotash or whatever the fuck that. Which one's the one? The hunter? What does he say? Elmer Fudd. Yeah, thank you. Or is it Sylvester? Anyway, whatever. Let's continue. Is Sylvester the cat? That one needed more time in the oven, buddy. Man, shut up. I'm cutting live content for 8 fucking hours. They're not gonna all be bangers, okay? You'll be repeating that joke to your fucking friends later to come across as cool, even though they're just as fucking nerdy as you because they like politics. I hate motherfuckers in the chat being like, man, that's crazy. That was really not funny. And then directly repeating bar for bar everything that you hear on this fucking broadcast to your friends so you come across like you're more knowledgeable of politics than you actually are. Oh my God. Hakeem Jeffries is very strange. Not a normal guy, very weird guy. Now, of course, he covers parts of Brooklyn and Queens. He's Israel's strongest defender, I would say. Okay, he is Israel's strongest defender. He's been quoted as saying things like, as I always like to say, we need to start speaking Yiddish and stop speaking Hebrew. His political instincts are so strange and definitely will not translate to the National Democratic Party. He despises AOC. He despises the progressive wing. The thing that I said was like him trying to make a joke about how like we need to be more, we need to be one with the streets. Here, Hakeem Jeffries with AIPAC in 2020. Jerusalem is New York City's 6th borough. Important to maintain Israel's qualitative military edge and oppose efforts to delegitimize Israel like BDS. No conditions for U.S. military aid. AIPAC lobbying is important.
We consider Jerusalem to be the 6th borough. I grew up in Brooklyn in the late 80s and early 90s. I know from tough neighborhoods, Israel lives in a tough neighborhood. And when you live in a tough neighborhood and when you go on a trip and you're able to experience that through the eyes of those who have to live it every day, then you know why it's important for Israel to maintain its qualitative military edge, to continue to be strong.
Pandering for the Hasidic voting bloc, yeah, except like that's not the end all be all. You know what I mean? He's just like he straight up is ultimately like expressly anti-progressive. He despises the fucking progressive wing of the Democratic Party, maybe even more than Hasids aren't Zionist, chat. No, we're not. We're talking about New York. The New York Hasidic community is not the same Hasidic community that you're talking about in like England and shit. And those guys also have like some weird fucking opinions as well. Just because they're anti-Zionist doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that they're progressive. The New York Orthodox Jewish community is very much right wing, even though there are some brilliant, bold left wing members in the community. They get like cast aside and made to be pariahs. Anyway, Jeffries to me then, I'm a black progressive Democrat concerned with the direction of racial and social and economic injustice with a fierce urgency of now. There will never be a moment where I bend the knee to hard left democratic socialism. What a banger, dude. A big profile I wrote about Hakeem Jeffries last August, which begins sometime in the not so distant future, probably after next year's midterm elections. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will announce that she's stepping down. Jeffries to me then said that he was a black progressive Democrat, which is why he will never bend the knee to hard left democratic socialism. That's all you need to know about this man. Like at this stage, because there's such unified support for Israel, I don't know. It's not like the game is going to change on American foreign policy as it pertains to Israel. So his takes or his statements on it are almost insignificant. I'm more so frustrated by his open campaign against the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, who are already like social democrats. They're pretty tepid, you know what I mean? It's not like they're fucking constituting like a legitimate anti-capitalist threat or anything. He's the top recipient of hedge fund money more than any Republican or Democrat. He was also Cuomo's biggest ally in DC. Yep. That's why he's going to replace Nancy Pelosi. You need to understand. Nancy Pelosi was Nancy Pelosi within the Democratic Party because she was one of the best fundraisers. Financial industry donors gave Jeffries $1.1 million in the 2019-2020 cycle, including employees from JP Morgan and Chase, Goldman Sachs, and Blackstone. This is going to be the leader in the House of Representatives for the Democratic Party. When the credits finally roll on this year's blockbuster production of the Democratic governance, the names will be familiar. Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi will tick by first, then the breakout stars. The octogenaries are on their way out, some combination of Pelosi, Hoyer, and Clyburn. House Dems 1, 2, and 3 are likely to retire at the session's end. House Democrats instituted rules at the end of 2018 limiting the chamber's top 3 leaders to no more than 4 terms, a number all 3 will have reached by the end of 2022. Add that to the Dems' pretentious defeats in November 2021 elections and the possibility of many years in the minority, given historical trends and successful red state gerrymandering, and you can see why a bunch of 80-year-olds might finally be willing to step aside. So, for the first time since 2002, Democrats have legitimate succession drama on their hands. Replacing Pelosi will be one of the most important battles for the future of the party. And as the Democratic Party has done time and time again, whether it be like putting someone as the leader of the DCCC or putting someone as the leader of the House, they are going to go with precisely the worst possible person they can. Jeffries is young numerically, but aligned with an older mode of Democratic politics. Until recently, that torch passing seemed to be all but a formality. Jeffries has long been seen as a rising star, and at just 51 years old, he's a relative youngster compared to the rest of leadership. The state of American politics politics in general is so fucking funny that when you're 51 years old, you're seen as a rising star in the fucking Democratic Party. In case of a coronation, it might make sense that Jeffries has spent the past year plus absent from the defining battles of the party. He would be expected to serve in the good soldier role, letting the speaker preside over her final act. But both battles he's chosen to sit out and the ones he's chosen to wage signal otherwise. While the CPC haggled with conservatives over healthcare, paid leave, drug pricing regulation, Biden's agenda, and Pelosi's personal priorities, Jeffries, a CPC member, was publicly silent. While the CBC took an outsized role in electioneering and crafting police reform bill, Jeffries' contribution was marginal. If you thought boomer leadership was bad, wait till you see the Gen X, Jeffries, Kamala Harris, and Mayo Pete. Mayo Pete is a little bit younger than them, no? But like, you're right. It's going to be fucking disastrous. The Democratic Party's lineup is so gross, dude. Just so awful. Every generation, they have just dog candidates, okay? While the CBC took on an outsized role in electioneering and crafting the police reform bill, Jeffries' contribution was marginal, campaigning for New York's Elliot Engel, a white moderate, and Missouri's Lacey Clay, a black moderate, both of whom fell to black progressives in the primaries, staying away from those negotiations. Interesting that he chose to regularly promote candidates that were running against progressives, no matter where they were running in the primaries. When all New York City House Democrats sent a letter to Pelosi urging her to protect all $80 billion for public housing in the BBB, Build Back Better, Jeffries was the only member not to sign that missive, especially surprising given that New York Dems are known to act as a bloc. Of course, if you're maintaining your stranglehold on Queens and Brooklyn, it's obvious which constituencies you care about more. You care about capital owners. You care about landlords. You don't care about the other people that have to rent that are also a part of that voting, a part of that voter base of support that you probably are comfortable with, considering that you are a New York Democrat. His signature maneuver in 2021 has been to start Team Blue PAC, a committee to protect Democratic incumbents from progressive primary challenges. Ooh. Oh, brother. Given that the Dems are likely to lose the House in 2022, the next leader's job will be to win back those seats from Republicans, not protect safe blue seats from internal contests. And those right-leaning incumbents in safe seats were already most likely to support Jeffries in his campaign for the top job, all of which adds up to the signal that the formation of Team Blue was less about winning potential votes for the Democratic leader than about settling scores with young, squad-adjacent progressives. It's made stranger by the fact that Jeffries insistently self-identifies as a progressive, which is straight to the heart of the matter with the Democratic Party's anger towards the progressive wing of the party. You're making us look bad. You're making us look bad by showing people what real progressivism looks like. Why the fuck are you doing that? I don't want to actually do things. I want to make sure that we don't do anything while I still maintain the position that I'm a progressive. That is literally at the heart of the controversy, the internal battle within the Democratic Party. That is straight up what they're mad at the most. Bernie Sanders and the existence of the squad and squad adjacent candidates create this internal messaging rift. within the Democratic Party. For a very long time, the Democratic Party going up against the Republican Party could just say, look, we got women. Look, we got black people. We like Latino people, right? Come on. Yeah, we do. Do you want anything from us? Do you want us to give you anything? Fuck you. We said we like you. What more do you want? Now vote for us. But when you actually have people that are like, when you have people like Cory Bush, when you have people like AOC, when you have people like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar coming out and being like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, we actually have to do something for the people. You guys suck. All of a sudden, you're now, duking it out with the people on your side. And that's not good. If you were wondering why the Democratic Party gets angry at Joe Manchin, but seems to forget those grudges very quickly, never threatens to remove Joe Manchin from committee positions or anything like that, when Joe Manchin himself is attacking the signature policies of the Biden administration, promises that they made on the campaign, that's because the Democratic Party agrees with Joe Manchin. They like Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is how they can just turn around and say, oh, fuck, we can't do anything, man. God damn it, that sucks. We really wanted to, but we just can't. Pelosi and Jeffries are both centrists. The difference is that Pelosi was a centrist in a manager caucus by adopting the median stance way. Jeffries is a centrist in a I will never fucking forgive Bernie, it was her fucking turn kind of way. Yeah. Well, beyond that, I think. It's not even like personal grievances because of Hillary Clinton. I think it's just he is like a big hedge fund donor guy. As Mike from PA also points out, he's actually far worse than that. He's the top recipient of hedge fund money in both parties. He was Cuomo's top ally in the House. This isn't just personality. He's fully committed to defeating the left. But City of Freaks is kind of correct here. I do think that it's similar to Biden versus Hillary. Biden has always been like, listen, if there's a lot of internal forces, Jack, like we'll kind of concede to that. He's I want to be to the center of the party. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, is like ideologically opposed to the existence of the left in a way that is like more than Joe Biden. Joe Biden definitely is like the type of dude, as you heard in his rhetoric, as you heard in his like policy measures, is the type of dude who's like, you know what, look alive, Jack. Marxist-Leninism is alive and well, okay? So that's why we're going to do a measured response. Biden was always more willing to backslap Bernie and work on the same team once in a while. Jeffries is more like Hillary for sure. Yeah, exactly. That he created Team Blue with Problem Solvers Caucus co-chair Josh Gottheimer. Oh, my favorite. Some of my faves are being implicated in this. Was even more striking. Gottheimer went on to become the head of the band of corporate Democratic holdouts who imperiled the Build Back Better agenda, which Pelosi called her legacy. It should come as no surprise that the chair of the House Democratic Caucus plans to support the re-election of members of the House Democratic Caucus who are working hard to enact President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, Jeffries' office told the Washington Post. I love the Tea Party style caucus building happening within the Democratic Party, and it's not happening on behalf of the progressive wing as the way that the Democratic Party makes it seem like it is, but it's actually happening on behalf of the most conservative elements within the Democratic Party. They're like, we are not doing neoliberalism hard enough. We need to make sure that upper middle class small business owners can still maintain tax deductions. I will fucking kill your bill. I will strap TNT to my chest and suicide bomb any fucking bill you put in front of me if my goddamn jet ski dealership owning constituents are not able to fucking take deductions at the end of the fucking year. Anyway, let's continue. Jeffries is a mute member of the CPC, the largest caucus in the party, but has recently chosen to ally himself with more conservative factions. And while the party's moderate wing has moved left on everything from foreign policy to social welfare, Jeffries has not moved with it. Is he the great unifier willing to find common cause with all Democrats, or a score settler out to quash an ascendant leftward bloc? More importantly, is he the face of the Democratic Party? Is he the next face? The answer to that is yes. First time I met Jeffries, he was an outsider Pines, Edward Isaac Dovere. If you ever want the worst anti-left take from a journalist who claims to be objective, this is your guy. This guy, holy shit, he cannot hide his fucking absolute disdain for any kind of moderately progressive wing coming out against the Democratic Party. In an August Atlantic profile of Jeffries, at the time, Jeffries was a lawyer at the infamous big law firm Paul Weiss. His mentor, Ted Wells, was busy defending corporate giants like ExxonMobil. I wonder if that impacts his ideology in any meaningful capacity. Probably not. Let's not think about that. Jeffries ran a handful of abortive campaigns to get into New York State Assembly starting in 2000, but didn't get his big break until 2006, winning a seat after the retirement of a scandal-plagued incumbent named Roger Green. Another fortuitous retirement allowed Jeffries to make up the jump to the House in 2012 when incumbent Adolphus Towns retired from from his 8th district seat. Jeffries had only the best Charles Barron, whom he dispatched easily after several former New York political luminaries teamed up to denounce Barron for his support of African national strongmen like Zimbabwe's Robert Mugabe and Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. So there are two forces in the district that we're speaking of. You have a black and brown constituency that live there, and then you have some other capital-owning blocks that are the rich real estate developers. So Jeffries sided with the wealthy landlord coalition and real estate coalition rather than going after the renters in that same district. Doesn't really matter, though, ultimately. This is a primary conversation because it's ultimately going to be Democratic regardless. In Congress, Jeffries climbed the ranks quickly. In late 2018, Jeffries bested California Congresswoman Barbara Lee, then a 10-term incumbent, to become the chair of the House Democratic Caucus. That marked the highest stakes leadership battle in the party in almost 2 decades, one that Jeffries won in part because of congressional progressives were weaker then, and in part because he was billed as a speaker in waiting. As fast as Jeffries moved up, so too did the political ground beneath him shift in those crucial years. On financial services, education, on Israel, many of his best-known positions rapidly became retrograde in today's Democratic Party, both statewide and nationally. My man is running on, 90s Democratic Party. Private education. Financial services are good. We need to deregulate finance. Running on a more aggressive pro-Israel stance than even some of the other congressional Democrats, which is wild to consider because it's not like congressional Democrats are fucking in any meaningful capacity anti-Israel. Let's be honest, that's not the case. Jeffries was the leading congressional recipient of hedge fund money in 2020. He banked $1.1 million from the financial sector, real estate interests, and insurance industry in the 2019-2020 cycle. Everyone from JP Morgan and Chase to Goldman Sachs to Blackstone contributed. Zimmer Partners, a hedge fund, is one of Jeffries' top donors of 2021. From the outset, he is governed with those interests at heart. While Democrats were reconsidering their coziness with Wall Street, he broke ranks with the vote with the financial services world, including on a high-profile measure literally written by Citigroup lobbyists in 2013 that killed the Dodd-Frank swaps push-out rule, allowing banks to engage in risky trades backed by a potential taxpayer-funded bailout. Reporting by the New York Times found the Citigroup's recommendations were reflected in more than 70 lines of the House Committee's 85-line bill. They wrote it bar for bar. Oh my God. New York Democrats, man. New York Democrats. When I tell you these machine politicians within liberal safe havens and their roles, this is what I'm talking about. They care more about Wall Street and they care more about K Street and they care more about real estate developers than they do their legitimate constituencies. They're the actual people that go out and vote for them. They're going to vote for them because they're Democrats, right? What are you going to do? You're going to vote for a fucking Republican? No. This is it. Just the worst kind of fucking 90s neoliberal Democrat. Anyway, meanwhile, Jeffries has remained a vocal advocate of charter schools while the party has backed away from them. This is why I'm saying he's like a 90s Democrat. There's a reason why the Democratic Party has kind of stopped advocating for charter schools like they used to. He was a top priority of Democrats for Education Reform, a pro-charter school pact that was critical of teachers' unions, which named him to their hot list immediately upon his announcement for a congressional bid in 2012. He has spoken at fundraisers and rallies on behalf of charter schools across New York City. On Israel, Jeffries not only started out as an unequivocal hawk, but has maintained that position even as more and more Democrats have shown a willingness in 2021 to condition aid to the country after the siege that followed the evictions in Sheikh Jarrah. But not Jeffries, who signed a letter opposing making aid conditional as recently as late April. 2 years prior, he supported the Israel Anti-Boycott Act, which would impose criminal penalties on companies that supported the BDS movement, which is literally a violation, a clear-cut violation of the First Amendment. There is no better representation of that. There are no criminal penalties for hate speech. Can you imagine criminal penalties in a country where there's no criminal penalties for hate speech? Criminal penalties for saying that you support boycotting Israel? That's crazy for its human rights violations. America is not the good guys. There is no better indication of this than the aggressive stance that we take on matters such as this one. The only criminal penalty you should be facing is the top of the hour ad break, and that is if you haven't subscribed. Those positions, though conservative, do have a home in the Big Tent Democratic Party, but Jeffries is also one of the rare Democrats to have received donations from Rupert Murdoch's News Corp PAC, the political donation arm of Fox News. Interesting. His presence in states politics has been primarily similarly out of step with the rapidly realigning party. Jeffries has placed numerous proteges in the state assembly over the years, but recently has seen a number of his acolytes downed by progressive insurgents, so he fucking despises them. In the state's 57th district, the seat he himself once held, socialist Forrest toppled old 4-term incumbent Walter Mosley, a well-known Jeffries ally in the 25th District for State Senate, also was home turf. His handpicked candidate Tremaine Wright fell to the Democratic Socialists of America-backed Jabari Brisport. In his own district, his constituents have shown they don't want more of the same Democratic politics, said Sumathi Kumar, the co-chair of the New York City DSA. Jeffries lobbied for Amazon to establish HQ2 in New York City despite high-profile protests over proposed tax subsidies and labor concerns in a battle that affixed Ocasio-Cortez in the national spotlight. If you remember, this is part of the reason why he fucking hates AOC. At the same time that the showdown was raging, Jeffries turned to Joe Crowley, the conservative congressman and once number 4 ranking Democrat whom Ocasio-Cortez defeated, for guidance on how to beat out Lee for caucus chair. Fucking losers.